Hello, my friends. My name is Xavier Enrico Alexander Havana de Santos Paganini Vespucci Grand Maison de Pardieu O'Flanagan O'Mallon Frankenbacher Douglas Unkwonku Wong Fei Dong Krasiva Alejandro Antonio Diego. Please excuse my outlandish motorcyclist outfit. I stepped out of the United States for the afternoon to go to my barber in Argentina, just so that I could tell my tale without a full beard. However, I fear that it may grow back before my tale reaches its end, so please, allow me to speak uninterrupted, and if my gravelly and masculine accent proves to be too much for you, please do not feel embarrassed if you faint. Now, I can already see several looks of disbelief on your faces. Who is this beautifully bronzed and toned fool up at the front of the room speaking lies out of his impeccable and suede-like lips about Argentinian barbers and fast-growing beards? I, for one, do not believe it, you may say. You may call me a snake-tongued mountebank peddling falsities when I tell you that my childhood Lego collection was used to rebuild the Bay Bridge. And the reason it took so long was because they did not want to destroy my magnificent work for parts. You may shout that I am pulling your ear when I tell you that I have stood at the point between 4 United States and have seen a 5th. You may be skeptical and call my statements unreliable when I tell you that they stopped making Polaroid film because everyone wanted a picture of me, conveniently and instantly developed whenever they saw me. Whether I actually did any of these things is irrelevant. You will either believe me or you won't. You have been putting trust in me based on the few things about myself that I have shown you, and judging my character. And that, my friends, is what it is all about. Character. One must always remain true to one's character, because pretending you are someone else will get you into trouble. And that is what my tale is about, and why everything I have told you is the truth. Centuries ago, there was a village deep in the heart of Africa named Dwiwalpat, which means the Devil's Crossroads. Its name was derived from the jagged shale pathway that ran through the hills nearby. The path cut through mountain, a canyon, and a river, and it was void of life. Farmers who would use the pathway to reach the next village for trade would avoid this seemingly convenient walkway at all costs whenever night fell, because it was said that when the sun went behind the mountains and no longer pulled the blades of grass toward it, they opened up and the devil himself could walk freely amongst the shade. Now, the legend was taboo for the people of Dwiwalpat. One did not just go on the path at night. It was that simple. And, naturally, as teenagers often do, many youths would hold tests of courage to see who could walk the farthest down the path before succumbing to their fears. But all in all, it was generally avoided like a spaghetti on a first date. Now, this tale in particular is of Mongo, the pesky and homely goat herder, whose meager land spanned no more than half of that of every other farmer in the village. Mongo's sickly-looking goats were the product of generations of a poor breeding that disgusted the local merchants and caused other farmers to avoid grazing on the same land. But alas, they were all of the peasant comforts that Mongo had. He relied on them for their sickly milk and sold their misshapen and clotted fur as a type of a scouring pad. One afternoon, as Mongo was guiding his limping, ragged excuses for livestock back to their lean-to after an afternoon of grazing, the one fatted calf sprinted off into the tall grass. Mongo set down his herder's staff and chased after it. Unfortunately, Mongo's frail and wayfish figure did not carry him very far before he had to catch his breath. Soon an hour passed in the chase, and nightfall was closing fast. Who knew what manner of beasts were stalking him in the tall grass, waiting for the sun to retire? Mongo's legs began to give out. His back was a twisted, wretched mess from running over hill and down into crevices. He collapsed and groped the ground. It was jagged and rough and cut into his palms. He had fallen upon the shale pathway, and in the pitying light of the starry sky, he spied a figure in the distance. Mongo dragged his legs beneath himself for support and mustered all of his strength, and in a hobbling motion he traveled towards the shadow. As he approached, he saw that the stranger was leaning over the dead carcass of a fatted calf. Upon seeing Mongo, the stranger straightened up and revealed the true abnormality of his height. His lanky figure carried with it 2 long, bony arms like tree branches, and his skin was a charred black hue. "What has happened to my goat?" Mongo asked, shivering with exhaust and fear. The stranger's lips parted, revealing a wide set of brown and crusted teeth. His eyes unnaturally bulged and exuded a fire-like essence, as though one was staring into the sun. "Oh, this is your goat, is it? Yes, the poor thing has died of exhaustion, it appears. Come and lift it with me, and we will take it back to your farm. This poor animal must mean something to you if you would chase it this far into the crevasse." The stranger lifted the hindquarters of the goat with ease and motioned for Mongo to aid him. The neck of the goat was singed at the Adam's apple, and the hoof prints in the dirt, frantic and struggling. Now, Mongo was in fact a fool, but nevertheless he knew the legend of the devil and became instantly aware of who this figure was. His quick thinking brought him to a tricky conclusion. The devil, the patron of bandits and murderers, would not harm one of his own brethren. "Nay, leave the goat," shrugged Mongo. "I stole that goat, and it is of no use to me dead." The stranger grinned and released the body. "Ah, everything is clear now. You are a thief." "Yes, the village I prey on locks itself up tight out of fear that I may strike. That fatted calf belonged to a farmer who was much too fatted himself." Mongo let out a gruff laugh that took his own lungs by surprise. "Ha, ha, ha. It seems plain to me that you know who I am. But I do not believe a word of what you say. You do not look like a thief. You look like a farm boy. You look like a man who has nothing except this goat and a few lesser ones at his hovel. If you are in fact a man of this sort, then I will have no choice but to take your life for being a liar." The devil elongated even further, as if his already monstrous statue had been merely poor posture. He stepped a long, swift step toward Mongo, who reeled back in terror. "I am no liar. What may I do to prove myself and to be spared my life?" "I would only ask that you commit an act that you claim is of your character. Go now and prove yourself. If you do not return within the hour with proof of your actions, then I will take your life as punishment for your crimes." As Mongo speedily hobbled back to the village, his brain was pounding in his skull. What could he do to prove his lie? He was no thief, and he knew this. Who could he steal from with the greatest ease? "I will steal a goat from the farmer Kunda, for he is fat with wealth, and not trading his goat for my life would be cruel of him." Mongo approached the pudgy farmer's fence and spied a goat separated from the sleeping